Account of Eddie Garson, aspiring actor. Filming Planet of the Apes, 1967, released 1968. Being an extra in Planet of the Apes wasn't just a job, it was an endurance test. I was 24, barely scraping by in Los Angeles, and thrilled when I landed a part as one of the background apes. I figured I'd show up, spend a few hours on set, wave my arms in the background, and go home. I was dead wrong. The first thing you need to understand is that the costumes were insane. Every extra, whether playing a chimpanzee, gorilla, or orangutan, had to sit through hours in the makeup chair. They cast me as a chimp, which meant I was fitted with a prosthetic mask and thick fur that clung to me like a second skin. The makeup process was grueling. Layers of rubber, glue, and paint were painstakingly applied to my face, and it felt like I was being shrink-wrapped. The mask covered everything but my eyes, and even breathing felt like a chore. When I looked in the mirror for the first time, I almost jumped. The chimp staring back at me looked so real. It wasn't just a mask, it moved with my expressions, making it all the more eerie. That's when I realized why this movie was such a big deal. The level of detail they were putting into it was groundbreaking. The set itself was like stepping onto another planet. The ape village, with its bizarre, organic-looking architecture, was incredible. Everything looked primitive yet advanced at the same time, like a civilization that had evolved in a completely different direction from ours. Director Franklin J. Schaffner was a perfectionist, constantly tweaking every little detail to make sure the world felt authentic. On my first day, they told us extras, "You're not just apes, you're a society." They gave us notes on how to walk, talk, and even gesture like apes. We were taught to hunch slightly, swing our arms, and use exaggerated head movements. It felt ridiculous at first, but once I was in costume and surrounded by other extras, it started to click. One of the most surreal moments came during a break between takes. I was sitting on a rock, trying to ignore the sweat pooling under my mask, when I looked around and realized I was surrounded by dozens of other apes. Chimps, gorillas, orangutans, all chatting, smoking, and eating sandwiches like it was the most normal thing in the world. Charlton Heston, still in his astronaut costume, walked by and joked, "It's like a jungle in here." Speaking of Heston, he was every bit the movie star you'd expect. Tall, broad-shouldered, and confident, he carried himself like a man who knew he was the hero of the story. But he wasn't standoffish. He'd joke with the extras and even asked me how I was managing in the chimp suit. "You're braver than I am," he said, grinning. "At least I get to take my helmet off." One of the biggest challenges was the heat. We filmed a lot of the outdoor scenes in the desert near Malibu and at Fox Ranch, now Malibu Creek State Park, and it was blistering. The fur costumes were like wearing a winter coat in the middle of summer. The crew would hand us water bottles between takes, but even so, there were times I thought I might pass out. The masks didn't help either, breathing through them felt like trying to suck air through a straw. The most memorable day on set for me was when we filmed the big assembly scene in the Ape City. Hundreds of us were crammed into the square, watching Dr. Zaius and the other leaders debate the fate of Taylor, Heston's character. The director wanted the crowd to feel alive, so he had us reacting with grunts, nods, and gestures. It was chaotic but exhilarating. Seeing the principal actors in their full makeup, Maurice Evans as Dr. Zaius, Roddy McDowall as Cornelius, and Kim Hunter as Zira, was incredible. Their performances were so good that you forgot they were wearing masks. During one break, I managed to talk to Roddy McDowall. He was kind and down-to-earth, a real professional. He said, "The trick is to stop thinking of it as a mask. You're not a man playing an ape, you are the ape." That advice stuck with me and made it easier to lose myself in the role, even if it was just as a background character. When the film finally came out, I was blown away. Watching those iconic scenes, the hunt in the cornfield, the trial, and, of course, the shocking ending on the beach, I felt proud to have been part of it. I wasn't on screen for more than a few seconds at a time, but knowing I'd helped bring that world to life was enough. Being an extra on Planet of the Apes was one of the hardest jobs I ever had, but it was worth every moment of discomfort. The movie became a classic, and I'll always have the memory of those hot days in the desert, surrounded by apes, making movie history.